Good morning. Happy Monday. Uh, it is Monday, April 28th, 2025, and we're here to break down the current state of the market and help you see through the noise. I'm very excited to be here and happy to be getting to trade with you today. Today in our state of the market, I'm going to walk you through what's going on with the S&P 500, where my three levers, right? Bonds, Russell 2000, and the VIX are kind of falling in place right now. We're going to look at some levels. We're going to talk earnings, and we're going to hit on events. So we've got a lot to cover. So let's dig in. All right. So ignore Sedge. That is one of my short squeeze stocks that is blowing higher that I'm going to be talking about very soon, folks. Don't worry, but I've been working on something fun, and I can't wait to share it with you guys. All right, so the SPX, we're up 2. We had a really, really nice week last week. Monday started off kind of soft, but we just really rallied all week. S&P is sitting 55.28. I believe we're eventually going to link up with the 50-day moving average. Currently, it's right around 56.20. My thoughts are we'll be like, 5,600-ish when we run into it. But I do like the market higher this week. There's not a lot that I believe is going to shake things up other than economics. We have a lot of economic announcements this week that are very important. So I want to go through those, and then we'll get into my levers. So nothing today, but tomorrow we start getting retail and wholesale inventories. We get the home price index. We get GDP on Wednesday, consumer spending, personal income, PCE index, PCE year over year, core PCE, just a lot. On Thursday, we get ISM manufacturing, which is big, construction spending. Those are big deals. And then the granddaddy of them all, non-farm payrolls are on Friday. Current expectation for non-farm payrolls is only 130,000 jobs. So that is, we are just chock full of news this week. News that could move things. So if the news goes okay, that's where we get to 5,600. So what is going to determine whether the news went the way we want? Starts with bonds. They are flat today, off the bottom, sitting at the 21-day moving average. And, flat on the day. All right. The 10-year, so kind of IEF is going to be the long bond, the 10-year, which is the kind of standard bond. I mean, it's in a fine place. Not having some of the same trouble as the long bond. And so bonds continue to be the key. If you're not watching the bond market, you're not watching the market. If bonds are stable, the market goes up. If they start selling off, the market starts selling off. It is that simple. All right, now let's look at VIX. This is our next kind of lever. Now, one thing to be aware of with the volatility index is that there is a weekend adjustment around it. So I don't want to get too deep into the woods with VIX, and I could. If you let me, I could do 2 hours on VIX, and you would understand maybe 4 words of it. But one of the mechanics behind VIX is that Mondays, it's going to be up about 3/4 of a point. And then that 3/4 of a point kind of fizzles out throughout the week. we're currently up 0.3%. So that means adjusted for the weekend, VIX is actually down. And it's now 25, so it's, a reasonable level to where we've been. And most importantly, this is huge. Look at the front end of my curve, right? So the index is up here. And then below is the futures. And these are kind of guessing where VIX is going to be in a month, 2 months, 3 months. And this is flat. You got about 10 basis points between June and May. And June is actually trading below July. So our curve is looking a lot better and starting to tell us, hey, that 25 VIX that might not be there for very long, Mark. You might want to do something about it. And we are. This is the setup to start thinking about how I want to be positioned for the VIX to drop below 20. Yes, you heard me right. How do I want to be positioned for the VIX to fall below 20? Then when we get there, I'm going to ask myself, how do I want to be positioned for the VIX to get to 15? All right. So there you have VIX really looking positive. Last but not least, we have the Russell 2000. And lo and behold, it is leading. The Russell 2000 is leading us higher. How many times do I have to say we want the Russell 2000 to be leading? And it is. And it hit a new recent high. But there's tons of room for the Russell 2000 to rally more. It is still bad, despite the outperformance today. It is badly underperforming the rest of the market over the last 3 months, over the last 6 months, over the last year. And, 2 years, yes. But really, it's this last year that has been really bad. All right. The Qs are up 9% year over year. Even the boring old Dow is up 5%. SPY's up almost 8%. And here you have the Russell 2000 still down. So I like the Russell. If I'm going to be long an ETF this week, it is going to be the Russell 2000. And, because it is telling me so. All right. Today is a day where kind of everything is up, but you don't have leadership from the Mag 7, right? Apple is flat. Amazon is flat. Microsoft is mildly down. Meta is up small. Broadcom is down. NVIDIA is down. So we have an up market, but it's everything else. Energy, materials, you name it. So, markets look healthy today, even though it's an inside day. Now, remember, an inside day is when the market is moving a lot less than we are used to. I would say up 0.5% inside day. And that is what you are getting out of this market. All right, now, tomorrow, you will be joined by me and Leisha because we are asking ourselves, how far can this go? Now, I'm looking at simple moving averages, and those make some sense to me. But Alicia is going to be walking us through pitchforks and where major points of market strength and resistance lie and how we should trade it. So if we're thinking, you know what, the market's calming down, I don't need to go to see Mark in the morning anymore. Well, now you have a double reason to come tomorrow because Alicia's going to tell you exactly the targets that you're going for. Alicia is going to be doing a mini masterclass on trading pitchforks and candles and things like that, and it's totally worth your time. Give my team a call. So we did the kickoff for my masterclass on Thursday. It went great. We had a good time. They gave me all kinds of good ideas on things I need to cover. And it's sold out. So now we're motivated to potentially do a second masterclass, things like that. If you're interested in the class, give my team. We might be able to squeeze you in, and you could talk to them about Alicia's masterclass as well. And the number to call is 888-872-3301. That's 888-872-3301. Or if you want to join Alicia, you can join the Queen of Pitchforks above, the Queen of the Candles, and you'll get a lot out of that. And I'd like to remind you that immediately following this, we are going to be doing our ticker highlight show in this room. All right. So things are looking positive. If you're a bull, we had an entire week of things being constructive. But there's still, again, a lot of risk out there. All right. I laid out the economic factors, but we also have earnings. Now, so far, so good. Google earnings were pretty nice. Tesla has been a beast. I'm getting ready for my Tesla trade. It's not getting to the vol level that I want. And when I say vol level, I mean option prices. The option prices are still pretty elevated. So I'm waiting for them to get a little bit cheaper, and then we're going to be diving on board. But Google had great earnings. Now, again, we want to see these premiums fall below 25, and then I'm going to start getting interested in Google. Then I'm going to start being interested. So the earnings we have this week, Meta is on Wednesday. You know, I showed you what I look at for earnings. They're pricing at about a 7.5% move. It's above normal, but of recent history, it's about in line. So Meta reports on Wednesday. Microsoft also reporting on Wednesday. Another big one to watch. Currently, they're pricing at about a 4.5% move. Again, that is in line with recent history. I don't think it's necessarily expensive. But we're not done there yet. We have Apple earnings. Now, Apple is the one that I think could be a real, if there's a hiccup in the market, it's going to be coming from this guy. They're pricing at about a 4.2% move. As you can see, in line with kind of how we've been of late and against the long-term median. But Apple has not had a lot of big movers of late. So take a look at this column here. This is how much they actually moved. And we've had kind of three occurrences where it moved more than 4%. 4 of the last 12. So you have a low chance of it making a massive move. However, if it makes a massive move, it is not going to be because earnings were good. If Apple is going to move more than we expect, it is not going to be a good thing. All right, so let me walk you through what I'm looking at. Justin, you can clip this. So Apple reports on May 1st. That is Thursday after the bell. The long-term implied move on Apple is about 4.25%. They're pricing in 4.2. Perfectly in line. Recently, it's been moving less than we expect. It has had some moments where it's moved big, though. Look at the stock chart. You're not even really seeing a big increase in option prices into these earnings. That will change as we approach. So the option prices will start to go up as we get closer to Thursday relative to the stock. But right now, if you're interested in Apple, it is not expensive to own options. And you will not be paying a lot of carry on that. All right, now we're also seeing movement decline, which when you consider how much we were moving, you kind of expect still moving almost $8 a day. And heading into this week, with the stock trading 209, they're pricing it to move in raw dollars about $10.50. If it gets a move, and remember, they're not pricing in a big move. The stock, despite all the pain, not far off from its all-time highs. This company is still worth over $3 trillion. So if we get a big earnings move, it is going to be to the downside. It will not be to the up. Could Apple go up? Yes. If I like Apple and I own it long term, I'm going to sell covered calls against my stock into earnings. If I'm really looking at it, though, there is a real chance that Apple is the eyesore out of the Mag 7 earnings. All right. So just be cautious. Thursday night could shift things if Apple earnings are really bad. So there you have it. So Apple gives me pause. All right. We're already through Broadcom earnings. NVIDIA earnings are not for a few weeks. We're through Tesla. We're through Google. We just have Amazon that also reports on the 1st. Now, if there's a stock that is going to move on earnings and potentially to the upside, I think it's Amazon. They're pricing at about a 6% move. It has moved. Yeah, I mean, it tends to not underperform that much or outperform that much. So I like Amazon higher, as you guys know. But I will probably sell my calls on Thursday ahead of these earnings, despite the fact I think Apple's going to pop or Amazon's going to pop. Why? It's earnings. We trade to them, not through them, and then we trade after them. Now, heading into earnings, I would expect Amazon to rally. I'm looking for potentially $200 by Thursday. All right. Real brief check on VIX. We are now flat officially. So this changes my behavior. this changes my behavior. Bonds are still going up. VIX is flattened up, and the Russell is leading big. So you have a really interesting setup here from a vol situation. I can't wait for trading desk and Delta Strike because, like I said, everything about the market is kind of shifting as we're watching. This is fascinating to watch. If you're not a VIX watcher and a bond watcher, you need to be watching those because they're very informative about how this market is going to behave. I mean, we're here on a Monday. VIX is 25, and it went red there for a second and may go red again. I mean, there is some real pressure on implied volatility today, folks. All right. So what are my thoughts on the day? And then I will give us a 1-minute break before ticker highlight show. I believe that will meander higher as the day progresses. You'll probably see a little bit of a bid come into Apple and Amazon and Google and all those names as the day progresses. And still going to be an inside day, but my guess is the S&P closes near 5,500. 5,550, excuse me. I'm looking for the S&P 5,550. I think the Qs will get to green on the day. Maybe that's about it. And you'll get the Dow up probably 300 points by the end of the day. Getting a nice recovery in a lot of Dow stocks. And, interestingly, equal weight S&P is outperforming the S&P. So that tells you that this is a broad market rally. Everything is moving up. And yeah. So what am I doing this week for now? Now, I currently already own these, and I've talked about it. I own the 195 calls expiring next Friday. Or next Monday. Excuse me, the 5th. And I like the Russell 2000 to be strong all week. I'm looking for $200 a share. All right, folks, it is 10:28. The ticker highlight show will start in 2 minutes. So I will be right back with you and we'll dig into our ticker highlight show trades and talk about other perspectives from other traders. So stick around. I will be back in exactly 1 minute for the ticker highlight show. Once again, if you have interest in Alicia's masterclass or mine, for Alicia, you can click the link above chat. If you want to join the masterclass, we can see if we can kind of squeeze you in. The number is 888-872-3301. Talk to Ted, Drew, and Zach. They will take very good care of you. All right, folks, we'll be back in 1 minute for the ticker highlight show. I'm Mark Sebastian. I am your only option.